The following program is brought to you by FanBags. Visit Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags at www.fanbagscornhole.com. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Once again, visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with FanBags Cornhole.
It's Zach Edey with Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands post-game show. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is Joe Jackson and Kraig Bowers here after another heart-ripping out the stomach kind of game in Piscataway. Like, it's just never a dull moment in New Jersey when they take on Rutgers. They always make it difficult. Early in the game, you think, well, you know, their roster isn't as good as in years past. Purdue should be able to make easy work of these guys. And once again, Rutgers make it difficult on them on the road. Not an easy environment for Purdue to play in, or any Big Ten team. There are no easy games on the road in the Big Ten. And, as I said last game, when they beat Michigan the way they did, you don't really take those kind of games for granted because they're few and far between. What we saw here today is more par for the course when you talk about Big Ten life, especially on the road. But at the end of the day, the Boilers prevail. Like I said, I think it's obvious their 3-point shooting in the second half is a big reason why Rutgers were able to climb back in it. But I certainly want to get your guys' instant reactions to this. So, Kraig, I'll start with you. You know, why was this a more difficult game than it felt like it should be once we reached halftime?
Well, first of all, let's just be happy we finally got a win in Piscataway. It's been since 2017-18 season. So like I fell into the trap. I thought this was going to be a 15 to 20 point win. I said 20 a couple days ago. I dialed that down to 15 today. And it wasn't. And I should have known better. We never play great there. There's certain teams and certain coaches that just seem to have your number a little bit and trying to figure out how to play you specifically. And even when it's not been at Rutgers, Rutgers has given us a ton of trouble. So, I think first and foremost, we just have to recognize that even an 8-point win at Rutgers that was close, in the last few minutes is still a really good win. And quite frankly, I like this game because Purdue's only seen true adversity down the stretch of games a few different times. And it was nice, especially with the team that's applying really intense defensive pressure. So it was nice for me to see them actually handle that and pull out a win. In terms of why it was close, now let's get to that. Joe and I do those keys to the game threads now before every game. And in the last few games when we've won, we've been like, check, 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 check. We didn't meet any of those today. It basically turned into Zach, and then Braden was the only other one that stepped up. But we didn't out-rebound them. Rutgers is not a great rebounding team. We end up losing the rebounding battle 36-32. We said we needed to shoot at 35% or somewhere in that range from three. We shoot 26% from three. So those two things alone right there makes this game a lot closer than it should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, I'll just kick it around to you. Your instant reaction here to today's win.
Yeah, I honestly think, and maybe this is a little bit unfair to Rutgers, but because Rutgers did come out in the second half and had better energy, I think Purdue kind of just saw the first half that they had, and they just kind of sleptwalk for a large chunk of that second half, knowing that they're by far the better team, the more talented team. And it just kind of caught up to them, right? When you couple that with Rutgers now being able to hit some jumpers and they got some stuff going, makes it a lot closer game. But one that, Rutgers is not a good team, but at the same time, Purdue was able to handle it in one of the tougher road environments that they'll play all year. They never give up the lead in the second half, and they are able to hang on, right? There's definitely a lot of negatives to talk about, and we will hit on those, but just keeping it on the positive side is this is a team that even when you had, this was Edey and Smith going off. We've talked about how there can be any different number of guys that go off for the rest of the game. Like, outside of Edey and Smith, you probably maybe say Jones had a solid game, even though he shot terribly. Outside of that, I don't know if you would go up and say anybody had a good game, and it didn't matter because Edey was dominant. Smith was back to his normal self, and sometimes that's just going to be enough, even in this tough environment when they did start losing the lead, able to hold on, able to still just get enough out of their team to advance. And when we talk about March, like, you got to figure out a way to do that at times, and say, although it wasn't March, they figured out a way to do that. And you're muted. That's $5.
$5 into the Big Ten tournament dinner jar that we'll have here later this year. Maybe we'll go to St. Elmo's, but yeah, no, to me, it was kind of reminiscent of some of those early games, maybe even like the Maui games or something, where early on they had games where they weren't the prettiest. It was a little bit of a rock fight, but at the end of the day, Purdue prevailed at the end, and I think Purdue has proven here time and again that it's going to take quite a lot for you to beat them. You guys have highlighted it a few times. You really got to pitch a perfect game to beat Purdue. You've got to shoot really well from three. You've got to force a ton of turnovers on Purdue, and you've got to hope Purdue has as cold of a day or night as they possibly can. And if you don't have one of those three factors in there, it just makes it that much harder to beat Purdue.
Yeah, you got to be perfect for near 40. They were not good for Rutgers was not good for 20 minutes. And that's the reason why they probably ended up losing this game. If they had played like that second half for even 30 minutes of this game, it's very much could have been a different result.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think you touched on this a minute, Joe. I was kind of trying to read through some stats as you were giving your point. So just in case you didn't, obviously the turnovers, 15 turnovers. And I think Rutgers has 19 more shot attempts. So that's between the rebounds and the turnovers. You're not going to see very many games at all. Some of that is we drew more fouls too, right? But yeah, you're not going to see many games that you win when the other team shoots 19 more times than you.
Well, they did.
No. And as Brad Prather points out in the chat, Purdue shoots 5 of 19 from three. But at the end of the game, The biggest moment of the game is Fletcher Lawyer missing a 3 and getting fouled and getting sent to the line. They're
And
only
making
up
all 3.
and making all 3. They're up 3 at that point. Only 2 or 3 minutes to play. He knocks down all 3, pushes it to 6. And then I think the other big moment of this game, maybe we need to start doing this, maybe moment of the game. That might be a segment we could start considering as I, produce the show live on the air. But to me, the other big moment of this game was when Lance Jones missed a 3, and I thought it was a bad shot selection. He was open for a minute. He pump fakes, waits for the defender to get in his face. He puts up a 3 and misses it. I'm yelling, don't wait for the defender to reset to shoot it. Just shoot it. Well, 2 seconds. As I'm yelling that, he steals the ball and gets a layup. So he made up immediately in that moment. Man, we just continue to sing the praise. It wasn't his stat line just insane to look at at the end of the game when he was at the free throw line? 3 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. It's just such a weird, wonky stat line that you're just not used to seeing. But that particular moment, the Fletcher Lawyer moment, that honestly saved them here today.
Yeah, no, it was one of those that if it's not a foul, or even if he makes 2 of the free throws or something like that, you go down the other way, Rutgers gets a bucket, and it's very, very much could be different. Obviously this was a really bad game for Purdue, I would say in general, or a pretty bad game for the most part. And at the end of the day, they still won, which is good. Lots of things to improve on, which isn't the worst thing to happen in January. I know we've talked about, hey, last year they peaked in November or January or whatever. There are still very much things that can be improved, which I think is a good sign for this team. Obviously that has to come to fruition, right? You can't just be like, oh, they can still improve and be better. It's got to happen. I'm just happy Purdue honestly got out of there, because the schedule, some of the games toughen up, but the travel eases up a lot for Purdue. I believe
there's only 4 road games left.
Yeah, 6 of the final 10 are road, and the 4 road are
no. 6 of the final 10
6 of the final 10 are home, sorry. And the 4 road are Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, and Illinois. So 2 of those games obviously very tough environments in that, but I don't know if it's as big of a deal with college maybe compared to pros, but they don't have these Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska, all those trips are out of the way, those super long ones. I don't know how I got there, but we did. So do we want to jump to some of the stats in that of the game?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'll just preface. I'll run through some of the team stats of the game. I'm going to throw in a little bit of NFL playoffs party. I got about 20 people on the other side of this door, so I wanted to come on. It was certainly I didn't expect it to be as entertaining of a second half as it was. So I just figured it was going to be hey, let's get through, Purdue with another beatdown of a team that's just not as good as they normally are here in the Big Ten. And sure enough, it's never a dull moment in the Big Ten. So I'm going to hang out here a little longer here with team stats of the game, and then I'll let you guys here take it the rest of the way. How much I appreciate, what you guys do here. So I apologize, but just doing a bit of a juggling act. So just giving everybody a little bit of breakdown of how things are going to go here going forward. But here are the team stats of the day. Purdue shoots another red hot on the road, 49% from the field, 22 of 45. Didn't feel like that when you consider the 3-point shooting, but 49% from the field, 22 of 45 once again, 38% from the field for Rutgers, 24 of 64. So I think Joe mentioned it. I mean, they get 20 more shots up, essentially 19 more shots up than Purdue. 26% from the 3-point line, 5 of 19 for Purdue, but Rutgers matches that with 25% from the 3-point line, 4 of 16 from the stripe there. 76% from the free throw line, 19 of 25 for Purdue, 62% for Rutgers, 8 of 13 for the line. So Purdue shoots 12 more free throws and makes 11 more on the day. 15 turnovers for Purdue, certainly above what their number where they'd like it to be. Only 10 turnovers for Rutgers. 17 points off of those turnovers for Rutgers, 10 for Purdue. Total rebounds, Rutgers out rebound Purdue 36-32. 21-26 on the defensive glass. Rutgers But offensively, Rutgers have 15 offensive rebounds to Purdue's 6. That's a pretty stunning stat line there. 15 second chance points for Rutgers, only 2 for Purdue. Another eye-opening stat there. 30 points in the paint for Purdue, 18 for Rutgers. 9 fast break points for Purdue, 8 for Rutgers. 6 blocks, 8 steals for Purdue. 1 block, 4 steals for Rutgers. Both teams had 12 assists apiece. Lead time, Purdue led the game for 38 minutes and 58 seconds. And Rutgers led for just a short, quick while for 22 seconds of this game. So Kraig, throw it to you. What stands out to you when you look at those team stats of the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've already talked about the kind of the 3 big ones. Just the rebounding differential that Purdue normally wins, the turnover differential. Anytime that thing climbs up more than 10 or 12, you certainly start to worry as a Purdue fan. I really thought maybe I'll focus there for a minute. So a lot of those turnovers were dead ball turnovers, and those don't hurt you as bad. But certainly that's just possessions that you're not getting in terms of shot attempts. And with Zach's ability to offensively rebound, then you're taking away a second chance opportunity as well. So that hurts some. This was the very first game that I felt like the press actually bothered Purdue in terms of the press turning Purdue over in that backcourt as they were trying to come up the court. Smith has a bad pass in there. There's another one. I think somebody gets trapped in a corner. I can't remember exactly for sure, but I know there was at least 3 turnovers against the actual press. The one wasn't a turnover. I don't care what anybody says. Isaiah's already weighed in on that on Twitter as well in terms of exactly why that should not have been a turnover. Where was that? It was the one where he was trying to get the ball across half court. I had a comment starred from somebody. Here it is. And Isaiah is our go-to referee, and we haven't had him on the show yet this year, but he addressed this immediately on Twitter. That's not an over and back, because for it to be an over and back, the ball and both your feet have to be established across the line. Yeah. And Jones never brought the ball over the line, so that shouldn't have been a backcourt over and back violation. But nonetheless, I thought the press bothered Purdue, and what Peichel did really well was he varied it up. He didn't use one type of press look. He threw 3 different types of ways to press out there against it, Purdue, or 3 different methodologies. And you could see Braden and Lance get confused at times a little bit against that. And I just thought Pike did a great job of varying that up. And then once we did break the press, we didn't attack it like we've done in some other games. There were 2 or 3 times where Zach had one-on-one position under the rim and just get him the ball right away. Don't let everything set up. Like, he's going to score or get fouled in that situation. Just fire it to him. About 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. That was there when Braden broke the press. It was just Zach on Cliff. I think it might have even been Wolfork at the time. And he just pulled it out. And I don't know why you don't just feed it to him there.
You're 100% right. When it comes to how they changed up the press, that's really the first time this year that they've, Purdue fans have, famously always complained how Purdue can't break down the press. And Joe has kind of curtailed that theorem a few times here on our show the past few years about how, while it seems it may be effective to do against Purdue, it hasn't always been. But today it certainly seemed like it did. So, it's something they're going to have to consider here going forward, but not every team is going to press the same way. So credit to them. I just think that Purdue is handled. They have more ball handlers. Lance Jones at one point just said, all right, I'm going to take it across the court. Braden Smith obviously knows what he's doing as well. So they have a few more guys that, I think can handle that pressure a little more. Joe, any secondary thoughts on that?
No, I think you guys hit on it. It's just those, it was just weird. Like, a little more hesitant from Purdue. I think, like you guys mentioned, a couple weird turnovers. I think a couple of the turnovers were just really unforced too, right? I think a couple of them was more just mental lapses and not as much per se. Like Rutgers was just an elite press. Obviously, they're very, very good defensively, and they did force a couple turnovers that way. But I think there was just, I just think it was a game for a good chunk. Purdue just tried coasting, and then when you go from coasting to being like, we got to like actually kick this into gear. I think it's hard to flip that switch at times, and I really think they just got caught in that for a bit. And then the game gets close. Then you get these turnovers. Then you get these mental lapses. Plus Rutgers hitting some shots and Purdue rimming some out, and that's when Rutgers comes back.
And Kraig, to your point about the over and back too, I think there's also something to be said about when it's in the middle of the court and you have that, the logo in the middle of the court. Don't you feel like that kind of throws off the ref as far as their line of sight of what's constituting? You don't have the definitive line there when you know what I'm saying? Does that sound stupid, or is that my new meatball take of the day?
I mean, I've never refereed a game, so I couldn't tell you. If Isaiah's listening, he could weigh in, although I don't know how many high school courts have monster logos in the middle of the court, I guess. But certainly, I think maybe it could, just in terms of you don't have that definitive color change. But still, to me, even the way Lance was overt and like his motion to make sure that ball stayed on the other side of the court.
Right.
So it just seemed obvious to me. And a bunch of officiating type accounts that I follow jumped on that right away as a bad call. So it just seemed really odd that it was missed.
It was a bizarre thing, and Lance definitely seemed confused by the whole thing. So, so there it is. Some of our stats of the game, and turnovers, rebounds, 3-point shooting are certainly of note. I'm going to hand this off to you guys the rest of the way. I appreciate you guys taking it from here. I'm going to continue to Ravens and Chiefs are tied at 7 apiece. Travis Kelce and Zay Flowers with a touchdown, each of them. And I got to say, we got 240 live viewers right now. That's not so bad when we're going up against the NFL. So take that, NFL. We got our own audience here, and we appreciate everybody tuning in for every post-game show that we do. So please hit that like button while you're hanging out here on a Sunday afternoon. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back Northwestern on Wednesday. I will actually be able to attend Mackey Arena to see a game. I'm excited for it. Northwestern certainly is getting hot right now and looks like they may be making another tournament bid. So that's going to be a high octane game coming up here on Wednesday, and I'll let those guys preview it here at the end of the show if they'd like, but I'm certainly looking forward to getting Mackey. So I'm going to get out of here. Isaiah Walker's here in the chat saying, I am listening. I believe it was an anticipation call because it looked awkward. As far as the logo on the court, it really doesn't affect anything. The line still needs to clearly contract. So we're just focusing on confirming the 3 points get established in the front court. I think with the crowd, the official just never did it. So there's our referee correspondent, Isaiah Walker, hanging out here in the chat, giving us a little more insight to that call. So once again, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys. I'll let you guys handle it the rest of the way as far as highlighting individual players. I know you'll miss me and my, amazing insights and expertise that I bring here, but I think you guys might be able to handle it. And I also almost blame myself for losing because I'm sure some people are noticing that I am wearing red, and halfway through the second half, I was like, what am I doing? That was a big foul on me too. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's basically this loss would have been on you is what we're saying.
Well, I don't know, Greg, because yesterday I was looking at my beard and I thought, man, I need to trim that thing up. But then in my head, I immediately said, but I haven't trimmed this at all since Purdue went on the win streak, and I went ahead and trimmed it anyway. So I think it might have been on both of us.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get my beard trimmed. I'm leaving for the Super Bowl to cover the Super Bowl next. My barber's actually here right now, but I'm waiting to get my beard trimmed up and lined up so I'm looking nice when I go to Vegas to cover the Super Bowl next week. So yeah, we both got the, good luck beards going, but eventually we're going to have to get it shaved up. It gets too itchy. But again, I apologize for the Scarlet Knight red, and I apologize I got a jet on some of you guys, but appreciate everybody tuning in again. Once again, hit the like button for these guys. They're working hard here on the Boilers beat, and I'll see you in Mackey here come on Wednesday. So Boiler up, take it away, boys.
So okay, one thing really quick. My mic keeps I don't know what's up. If I have bad audio, just let me know. I think it's good right now. But
yeah, I haven't heard a dip out. But
it's been, I don't know. It's the wires super loose. I don't know.
Hey, have you noticed the camera and the speed?
I was gonna say something.
No freezing up. I got that fiber in the house. Finally hooked up.
It was the first thing I noticed when you logged on. I was like, oh yeah, it just looks so much better. So
Yep.
As we get back to Purdue, our chat is arguing Lawyer versus Colvin versus Heidi versus Morden. Nothing new, but we do truly appreciate everybody tuning in, commenting, and all that. I'm gonna switch my focus to this guy that's named Zach Edey, and like, I don't like. They kind of hit me today, especially watching him go up against Amori. And I know Amori has not had the year that Rutgers has wanted him to have, at least on the offensive end. Defensively, he's been a beast. You just like look at Amori compared to him, and it's not fair because obviously Edey's on a different level, but it's like it's not like Edey shouldn't be able to play 36 minutes and shoot 75% from the field and go 8 of 13 from the line, which was maybe a bad game from him from the line, and had 12 rebounds and 4 blocks and not get in foul trouble. Like that's insane what he does. And this is just like every day, 26, 12, and 4. Like, cool. Like, Zach Edey played basketball today. Like that's not common. Like that I don't know. I know we always joke like we don't talk about Edey enough, and just because of how dominant he is, and he does it basically every game. But like, this was supposed to be, Rutgers and Cliff, and then they defend Edey the best. Maybe Terrace Reed, he had a really good individual performance, but like Edey just put up 26 and 12 on really efficient scoring against arguably the best team that can defend Edey in the post, and it did it in 36 minutes while taking an absolute beating the entire game. Like,
yeah, and Cliff's gonna
crazy.
be Cliff will likely be the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten. If Edey's not. So, and we highlighted kind of in the key points to the game leading up to it that Cliff had played Zach as good as anybody's played him over the last 3 years. He still was getting a double-double, 17.5 points and 11 rebounds, but he's made life difficult on him, and he's not let Zach go off on a game where it's one of those games where Zach just has to carry Purdue. And we basically said that's not going to happen today. Like, Zach's not going to be able to just single-handedly carry this team. Now, Smith stepped up with him today.
Yeah. Yes.
But on an off game shooting-wise from Lawyer, from Jones, basically everybody outside of Gillis given 3 of 4 today, and Smith, Zach carried this team and did what we didn't think necessarily would be possible playing against Cliff in this type of situation. I still thought Cliff made things really difficult on him in the first half. Thought there was a couple times where Zach forced it when he could have kicked it out to an open Jones or Lawyer from 3, or Smith a couple of times there too. And just really when he turned baseline and tried to shoot without being able to use the backboard at all or have a straight look over his shoulder at the rim, I thought that really flustered Zach in the first half. But then he came out in the second half, and maybe you'll talk about this. Maybe I don't know if you'll get your chalkboard out on this or not. But Purdue changed completely where they were getting Zach the ball and how they were getting Zach the ball. And it led to help defense not being able to recover and get there fast enough. And Zach got way more one-on-one, and also where he could drop step and kind of shoot that little bank at the rim as well. So I think Painter did a really nice job switching that up going into the second half. And then Zach was just dominant and ate and went through contact many times. And hey, he gets 2,000 points. I don't know. I was a little bit after you guys first coming on. Did you guys talk about that already? Yeah. So, Zach eclipses the 2,000 point mark, which very few people have in Purdue history. So just an amazing, amazing stat and feat for somebody. Again, this has been said 1,000 times, but who was ranked in the high 300s or low 400s coming out of high school. What's that?
400s.
Just an amazing, amazing career arc for a guy who's played basketball as few years as he has, and for as unheralded as he was coming into Purdue.
Yeah, 436 in the country was his ranking in the recruiting class, and now he's best player in the country. Might be one of the best, if not the best, Purdue player of all time. We have to let the season play out, I guess, before we really go there. But like, it's just, there aren't many words, and that's what makes it hard. I think for me, especially talking about him, is just like, what can I actually say other than it is just unreal what we're watching. He can carry he can carry games and this team in games that like he has no business doing it. And it doesn't matter, because even if it's like they're doubling him or whatever, he's just going to pick his moments, that he's going to pick his spots. Like you said, Painter, I think, did a good job of getting Edey some better looks also to go along with it. I also think, Edey just wears on people too. I think you saw early in the second half where, especially early, like it just felt like Rutgers didn't quite have that, or maybe not early. At some point in that second half, Rutgers didn't quite have the tenacity, kind of defending him in the post for a couple minutes stretch. Edey really gets going with that. It's just crazy what he does every single game, and then even just how it feeds off. Like Braden, I think, gets 2 open threes off of Edey kickouts, and obviously Purdue did not shoot. Nobody shot well today aside from three, aside from Braden and Gillis, but a lot of that's from Edey too. And he anchors this defense. He is an absolute rim protector. Like for the first half, when Rutgers scored 20 points, they took like 2 shots at the rim, I think, the entire half. And that's just, they're just scared of Edey. Just like sometimes, teams are scared of Amori because what he can do. Edey is 100% the same way in that asset. Do you have anything else on Edey specifically from this game that you want to talk about, or anything like that?
No, I mean, I just thought he did a really good job. I thought he was better in the second half too, and not forcing stuff. I thought he kind of got a little frustrated at times in the first half and forced too much. I thought he adjusted a lot better in the second half, even though guys maybe weren't necessarily hitting from outside, that he wasn't forcing it if it wasn't there. Also, it was just there a lot more because, they changed the way they were going about setting him up in the post to start with. So, yeah, I don't have a lot more on Zach other than it's, again, just an amazing accomplishment. And congratulations to Zach for getting to 2,000 points. Something that we won't get to say very often on this show.
No, it's crazy. So I think we do have to go to Braden Smith, obviously, next, who puts up, I don't know if I read Edey's stat line, right? 26, 12, and 4. Braden Smith puts up 19 points, 6 rebounds, only 2 assists, but 7 of 10 from the field, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. I don't think he was bad defensively for the most part too. Braden Smith's been in a slump shooting the ball, and everybody's kind of known that, and it's like, oh, is this just like last year and where he's going to slump and fall off? I know you put out some stats kind of showing like, hey, this isn't quite the same either as last year in terms of Purdue shooting the ball, but this was a game that Braden Smith needed. I'm looking up his previous games. Last game he gets back on track a little bit, 11 points on perfect shooting, but then it was 9, 5, and 6. Did not shoot well at all over that stretch. 19 points. Purdue needed him, and he came out so strong too, and really just set that tone, I think, of like, no, I'm good. I'm here. I'm back. Knocks down he knocked down an early 3 and I think an early pull up. You saw him get to the rim a couple times too, which has been a big thing where he's just not been able to lately. He got back to the rim, played 38 minutes and looked good pretty much the whole game, in my opinion. A couple, like 1 or 2, just he had the one turnover on the sideline where it's just I don't know what happened there, where he just like dribbled it off his foot. I don't remember his other turnover. Oh no, it was that super bad pass where he skipped past across the court. So obviously not like completely perfect, but a very good Braden game in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I there's not much to pick apart from Braden in terms of the way he played the game. Like I said, I was, it was great to see that elbow jumper and those threes going down a little bit today. But I was really impressed with Rutgers is not an easy team to go to the rim on. And there were several different times where they were able to kind of seal. Braden was able to get in front of a couple guys who were trailing and then they're chasing. And man, each of those times I kind of thought they're going to get him. They're going to get him. And Braden just sneaks it up there just in time to go ahead and score. One of those was real late in the game where he attacked right away. Like he knew he was attacking as soon as that high ball screen was set, got all the way to the rim and scored. Might have been right after that Lance Jones turnover in the previous series. I don't remember for sure, but it was late and it was really, really important. And there was another play in there in the second half where Smith is out at the 3-point line and Lawyer's trying to come over and Smith just waves him away because he saw where everybody was set up down low and he knew he was going to an Edey lob the entire way. Like 5 seconds before that play actually materializes, he knows that's where he's going and just drives hard to the basket as hard as he can and never really reads again to see whether Zach's open or not. He knew he was going to be open the entire time just based on where the defenders were set up in the first place, and then just casually tosses that lob up, right?
Yep.
And it's just things like that you have to love in terms of the way he can control and manipulate a game. I thought Rutgers did a really, really good job of making sure that they didn't Now with Jones had plenty of open shots and they just didn't go down. But Rutgers shut Lawyer down. Like they just didn't let him get open looks today. I've seen a few things in the comments about we didn't get Lawyer the ball. And I didn't think we got Lawyer the ball because it wasn't there. And they were super physical with Lawyer when he did get the ball. So when he tried to come off that curl and kind of dribble down in the lane and shoot that little mid-range, or sometimes he gets a little closer to the rim and kind of flips it up and tries to draw contact and hope the ball goes in. I thought they were really physical with him. I thought that bothered him on that standpoint. And then they just didn't give him many open looks from three. There was maybe a time or two I thought Zach could have kicked it to him off of a double. But the thing with Rutgers defense, and you see it when you see it in real time, is they recover so fast. It can look like a guy's a little open when Braden or somebody like that's driving to the rim, or you see it across court. But a few times, like when Braden tried to skip that ball, Rutgers just recovers so fast to shooters that's not really, to me, it's not open like some people thought it was open.
Well, and the other thing with it too, because there's been comments of like they aren't passing. Smith isn't passing to Lawyer and Jones on purpose. Like that's insane to say that. If somebody's open, Smith's gonna find you. I promise you. Now maybe Lawyer's open and Edey also has good positioning, and so yes, he passes up on Lawyer because of Edey or whatever. But the other thing with it too is this where it comes into, I think a big reason why Braden probably only had 2 assists as well is Rutgers. They aren't as big as last year, but like they're starting 5 today. They have 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", 6'11". Off the bench, they have 6'8", 6'9", 6'8", and 6'2". Like they just have a bunch of long and tall dudes that can make it tough for Smith to see some of the passing angles as well. So now, when he's going up against a 6'2" point guard and the guy on Lawyer Jones is 6'3", there's enough space that he knows how to operate in the paints and just knows where he needs to be to find angles. I think Rutgers can just take all that away. They're a unique team in the ability that they can help, while, like you said, also not like they're helping, but it's not like helping because they can just get back really quick too. And I think it makes it tougher on that. You saw Purdue run some stuff with like the roll and replace type action, or where you just have your shooter come from the corner to the top. And they got some looks off of it. They're also missing. And I think Smith understands too, especially down the stretch. He's like, hey, this ball probably needs to be in mine or Edey's hands unless it's a wide open shot or cut. So I think he also wasn't trying to force, because when we go back to the Northwestern game from earlier this year, we said, hey, Braden, why are you forcing down the stretch? Like, why are you're forcing stuff that doesn't need to happen? I don't think Braden did that today. And it's, Rutgers is a better defense than Northwestern. A little bit different spot than Rutgers was very much behind trying to come back. But I think there's just a lot of stuff like that too, that Rutgers is a good defense in their ability to have length that makes it tougher for Smith, I think, to find some of those angles in that he has.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't have any issues with, obviously Braden shot really well. Thought he controlled the game flow. Again, where he gets in trouble is when he does force, and just didn't necessarily think he did that. So let's do our ad read.
Go for it.
Okay. Purdue graduate and Lafayette resident since 1999, Michelle Rainey has 10 years of full-time experience working with buyers, sellers, and real estate investors in Greater Lafayette and many surrounding areas. If you need to buy, sell, invest, or even relocate, call Michelle to schedule an appointment to see how she can help you accomplish the real estate goals you have. Your home or creating an investment portfolio will likely be the most expensive transactions of your life. Have the experts with Rainey and Company at Keller Williams on your side and let Michelle navigate this process to make it easy. Call or text 765-532-3415. Again, if you have real estate needs in the Lafayette area, call or text Michelle Rainey at 765-532-3415. And we appreciate Michelle and her partner BJ both for sponsoring the show. Several of the shows that we've had throughout the year, great people and great what they do with real estate.
Yep. So yeah, definitely appreciate them sponsoring us, help us out here. Lance is probably the next player I think we have to go to. 4 points, 10, just a crazy stat line. 4 points on 1 of 10 shooting, 0 of 6 from 3, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals. I think there's I think the way you view Lance Jones in this game tells me a lot about what you view people need to do to be productive. I'm not going to say this was not Lance Jones' best game. Obviously, he was 1 for 10 and he missed open shots. Like he wasn't good on that end for the most part. But if people are going to only look at that and be like, "Oh wow, Lance Jones played terrible today," like I think you're just ignoring 70% of the game. There's a lot more than just purely scoring. 10 rebounds, 8 assists. The ball was just moving with him, and then 5 steals. And how many of those were just in the backcourt too, where I feel like we didn't on the TV. We probably didn't even see 2 of them. It was kind of just like they cut back. They're like, "Oh, Lance Jones has the ball." This was the perfect. This actually might be the epitome of the Lance Jones experience. You get this just terrible shooting, but at the same time, you can't take him off the floor because he's, for the most part, was playing pretty good defense and he was just doing everything else right. And so it's like, yes, the offense absolutely not there, but literally everything else. And then when you get, Smith and Edey doing their thing, that's all you need. You need all the little things to happen, and Jones 100% did those. So it's an interesting study case on how people view his game, I think, today.
Yeah, and I posted this to Twitter during the game, but you hear coaches all the time and you hear Matt Painter say it, like, don't let your scoring affect your game, because there's a lot else that you can do to help a team win a game. And the broadcasters, for whatever of you thought of them today, said something about this. This is one of the reasons that Purdue's not going to lose a first-round game in March. And I think, to me, there's a couple things there. One, what Painter's saying when he's saying don't let scoring affect the rest of your game is exactly what Lance did. Like, Lance shot terrible today. There's no way we win this game without Lance Jones today, right? Almost gets a double-double on rebounds and assists on a game where our 4 spot gave us a total of 3 rebounds the entire game. And
yes,
beyond that, the 5 steals, I think out of that, he scores on a layup. He gets first an assist, who scores. He gets fouled on another one, hits 2 free throws. And it's not a huge chunk of points that he got off of those steals, because there was a couple that got missed that he took. But, you just need small things in close games like this. And just those little things that he provided. He's recorded with 5 steals, but really there's 6 that are attributed to him, because he pokes the ball away and Lawyer actually recovers it and gets the steal recorded under his name on the other one. But really just an absolutely amazing stat line and a testament of how can I help a team win if I'm not shooting the ball well today. And I would love to hear Painter's press conference on this, because I think he'll say a lot of those things. And I don't know, even though he shot the ball bad today, I really just that 1-3 where he kind of sidestepped and drew the defender in. Outside of that, I thought everything was pretty much in rhythm and in the flow of the offense. And guys are going to be a little bit closer to you when we play Rutgers, because like we said, they recover so stinking fast to it that window that you're open is smaller than what you're used to, maybe than playing some other teams. Top 15 defense in the country. That stuff's going to happen. I thought this is a really little thing, right? But the dude is 1 of 10 on the game, 0 of 6 from 3, and hasn't hit a shot other than a layup all day. He goes to the line, in the last minute and a half?
I could pull up the exact while you keep talking.
It doesn't matter. He goes to the line sometime right down there in the stretch, and I thought, man, there's no way he's hitting these, because he hasn't hit a shot all game other than a point-blank layup. And in my head, I thought, oh no. this is like, and he just walks up and just calmly knocks them both down. And that's a really little thing, but those 2 points mattered a whole hell of a lot right then.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's who Lance Jones is. I'm pretty confident that no matter what he's doing on offense, he's going to give you, for the most part, good stuff defensively. And then he's shown that he can erupt for 20 points. He's also shown that he can have these types of games. He's shooting 34% from 3 in the year, 53% from 2. Like, if you told me those were his numbers coming into the season on decent, pretty good volume, I would take it 100% of the time. And he's doing it right now. So obviously it's like, I want to make it clear. We are not saying he was good. Like, it is not a good thing that he missed these shots. I'm hoping nobody takes it that way, but he was good in every other facet. And that is a big part of this game. It really, really is. Especially when there are not many guys if any, on Purdue that can give what Lance Jones can give everywhere else on the floor. Like maybe Borden, but he wasn't. That second half he wasn't that good defensively. And well, I guess that transitions. Do we talk about the wing room or the 4 spot?
Oh, I'll let you pick. Neither of them are going to be fun.
Yeah, let's go to the 4 spot. So we can kind of just let's kind of group them together. And obviously we'll talk about each individually within that though. But TKR, no points, 2 boards, 2 fouls, 3 turnovers, 2 blocks in 19 minutes. Gillis, 8 points, 2 of 3 from 3, 3-4 overall, only 1 rebound, 3 turnovers, and a steal in 19 minutes. First 2 points in 2 minutes of play. So basically TKR and Gillis had that back-to-back jumpers, which did help calm down Purdue, I think, in that second half. Comes in, hits a 3, hits a 15-footer right after or whatever. That was big. It was just this felt like the first game, at least in a while, where both TKR and Gillis just did not have the energy. They combined for 3 rebounds. That can't happen. Even if Jones grabs 10, and maybe Jones takes a couple, right? Then say he takes 2. That still puts the 4 spot at 5. Like that, Purdue needs more out of the 4 spot, 100%. And it's a good thing that they were able just to get a win out of this, even with the 4 spot playing this poorly, because that's usually a strong suit. Is you're going to get at least one of TKR and Gillis playing really, really well, and Painter can kind of go to whoever he needs to down the stretch. Painter was searching today. He went to Edey for a couple minutes at the 4 in the second half. He was just kind of searching, especially right after Gillis got beat on that. That wasn't a backdoor, but it was like a weak side drive.
It was just him not paying attention. Like they swung the ball and Gillis was like, "Oh shoot," he was just too slow to recognize what was going on, and he was out of position to start with and couldn't recover to it. And I thought they were the tale of opposites today, other than the fact that neither could rebound and both wanted to turn the ball over. So combined, they had 3 more turnovers than they had rebounds in this game, and that's never a stat that you want to see. I did think TKR gave real good minutes defensively. There's just a few that I can point out off the top of my head. Mag tries to drive on him, and he cuts over and slides laterally, shuts him down. Mag's a lot smaller, leaner, quicker guy, and I thought he really played good defense on that. That was in the first half. He forces him into an 18-foot fadeaway. We're continuing to see TKR be a little bit better in space, and the other place we're seeing him be better is coming on help side. He comes over again and gets a block where the guy thinks he's got a clean look, and he comes kind of around a bit to the side of him and blocks him kind of from behind. We've seen him do that 3 times now in the last 2 games on that specific type of block, where he's playing help D. So I thought TKR actually gave pretty good minutes while he was out there defensively, especially in the first half. On the flip side of that, Gillis comes in the first half and gives you 2 threes, and he gives you a little mid-range pull up at the free throw line. So he gave a short little offensive burst there too. Now he was non-existent offensively in the second half, and we just didn't get rebounding. My brother texted me during that second half and said, man, they just did not match the intensity that Rutgers came out with in that second half. And rebounding a lot of times is an intensity thing. And are you going to match with the same focus and intensity that the other team does? And it just didn't seem like we did in that regard. And especially probably from the 4 spot when you're looking at how they were rebounding in that manner. Yeah.
And that's rare. I don't think especially Mason Gillis, when you talk about Gillis, you're basically going to say every game, no matter what, he's going to bring energy, whether the shots fall, whether it ends up in actual rebounds or whatever, he's going to bring energy. Just an off game for him. And it happens. It happens to everybody. It's just, I think it's unfortunate that it happened with TKR kind of being non-existent offensively, Gillis not really being there as much in the second half. They happened in the same game, and that hasn't happened yet. Also, just, the physicality was there. Yeah, like you said, they didn't quite match it. Gil's got a couple good looks, and he makes them. I don't know. I don't know what else I really have to say. Like you said, TKR I think was decent defensively for a bit, and that's why we can pull up the rotation here real quick. First half, TKR plays 5 minutes at the 4, and in the second half he plays 10. Gillis plays 8 minutes in the second half. Camden Edey plays 2 at the 4 spot. Painter was just searching in that area, trying to figure out what he wanted, and ultimately he does close with Gillis, and I think that's who you had to go to just with the threat of spacing, because I think that gets lost in talk by people sometimes of like they want to make shooting very much black and white of, oh, he missed shots, he's bad. Yes, he missed, if somebody isn't hitting shots, that's not good. But the shooting ability, just their ability that Rutgers had to worry about Gillis on the perimeter, gives Edey just, even if it's another step for Edey of space, like that's crucial for him to get some looks down low. And I think that's why you close Gillis in this spot, especially, and with just matching up, he's a little more mobile, can match up with Mag and Hyatt a little bit better. Now, if Rutgers win Amori and Woolfolk, which I don't believe they did, unless I'm completely mistaken, then maybe you go TKR to kind of match the two bigs. I don't have much else other than it was not good energy from both of them, and that hasn't happened too often this year in the same game.
Yeah, it's been rare that you kind of have an off game from both of them, and I don't think we'll see it happen a lot necessarily. Hopefully, throughout the year. I don't know. I don't know that we really ran much for Mason. Two of those plays in the first half. That's what I'm saying. In the first half, two of those plays were actions specifically to try to get him looks, and I don't know that I really feel like that happened in the second half at all with him, unless they just shut it down. But it's obviously a performance that you're hoping that you don't get again. The fact that Purdue can pull out a game like this where they get a performance from the 4 spot like that, I think in some ways you have to look at as a long-term positive, that they can figure out ways to win, especially on the road, right? And tournament games are neutral, not on the road, that they can find other ways to win and manufacture points and manufacture rebounds. Because even though we do get out rebounded, that margin shortened up a whole bunch. And in that regard, it was definitely Lance picking up the slack that they were dropping off in.
Yep. Let's go to is there anything else for the 4-man you want to go to or anything like that? I know we have the wings left.
Yeah, we can go to the wings.
All right. So this is the hot topic, as with every game, because I don't know. Lawyer, 7 points, 1 of 4 shooting, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 turnover. Jones, we already talked about. I'll leave him out of this. Heidi, 0 points in 7 minutes, 0 of 1 from 3. Morton, 2 minutes, 2 points, 2 fouls, a steal in 12 minutes. Great. It wasn't a good game from any of them. It really wasn't. And this was a game that I think when you go back to the stats, Smith and Edey had to do their thing, and they 100% did. And that is a big reason why that Purdue was able to win. But at the same time, you need at least one of them to step up, right? You need at least one of them to step up, do something. Lawyer knocks down some clutch free throws down the ends. Lawyer got caught on Rutgers. I mean, it was Lawyer and Morton both, though, in that second half. They let Griffiths get free on those kind of pin downs actions a few times. I thought Lawyer was a step late on a good bit defensively. But at the same time, something's going on with Heidi. He's not really trusting him right now. Morton wasn't great defensively, I think, in the second half. So then you just kind of left with Lawyer. Obviously, there's Colvin on the bench, and let's save the Colvin talk maybe for after this. But just not a good game. They didn't hit their shots. I don't think any of them were really great defensively. And when that happens, you're kind of just stuck with you're hoping that Lawyer can hit some free throws, maybe knock down a shot. And I assume that's why Painter goes with Lawyer down the stretch, or at least on the offensive end. Obviously, he did go offense, defense a bit with Morton in there as well.
Yeah, I think for sure that the fact that Lance was off from outside today just kind of forced Painter's hand to try to leave Lawyer in there more, even though he wasn't necessarily getting a lot of looks today. But that if he did, I think he takes 2 attempts in the second half from 3 and misses them both. But you're hoping that Lawyer at some point in there can provide some outside shooting, because Lance isn't doing it today. But defensively, again, like you said, thought clearly an issue there, just being behind, being late. I have no idea how we let Griffiths get off on out of bounds plays that many times in a row. Everybody in the entire building knows that's coming, and he just kept doing it over and over.
The one baseline when it was Lawyer, I'll have to go back and watch exactly what happened, but you saw Lawyer, like we saw Lawyer ahead of time say something to somebody on Purdue, and it was like they knew it was coming, and you see the screen happening, and you see Lawyer, he was pissed, like he yelled at somebody, like, and so I don't know if that is just more frustration that he didn't get around, or if it was like a, hey, you are supposed to be here at this moment right now, and you weren't. I would have to go back and actually watch that to give exactly what they want, or what they wanted to do there. There was just miscommunications. It was just like they just weren't quite connected. It really felt like it at times. It just wasn't connected. What Griffiths had, Griffiths had 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting in the second half. It felt like way better shooting. Hyatt gets for 13. He has, he's more of the 4 spot, but he has 13 in the second half. He knocks down some shots. They go 4 of 8 from 3 in the second half, 15 of 30 overall. It's a tough spot when you're not getting the offensive production from Lawyer, because you're hoping that's, why he's in. But at the same time, I understand, like, Lawyers knows the system the best out of specifically Edey and Colvin. He's going to be in the right spot a lot of the time. And there's also, just like I said before, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, of Lawyer just gets respected as a shooter, and that just creates so much more spacing. And Colvin might get that too. I don't know if teams probably would. I don't know. He wasn't good. But at the same time, I understand why he's in, because of, although he's another guy that maybe he's not in the Jones level of doing the little things, but he does a lot of the little things as well, or at least has more opportunity to do them, even when he isn't playing well.
Yeah, and he gets fouled on that 3-point play and knocks all 3 of those down, and you certainly trust him in that situation. More so than Morton, Edey, or Colvin, in terms of just having been in those moments more than 2 of those guys, and then obviously just being a better shooter all the way around than what Morton is. So I get specifically today why you leave Lawyer in. I just think a lot of it is like you're trying to find outside shooting and have a guy who's in the right place defensively, in terms of knowing where they're supposed to be defensively and offensively all times on the court. Edey has the one 3-point shot attempt and kind of hits. I don't know if it hit the side of the backboard. It was way off. It was the worst attempt I've seen him take this year, because he's been good, right? And I still think he's shooting well over 40% on the year. But that's maybe just a moment. Like, the rack is, or I guess we have to call it Jersey Mike's now, but the rack is one of the most intimidating places to play in the Big Ten. And we've struggled mightily there. And you have all of those demons, and you're trying to exercise those demons, and having a freshman in there in that moment trying to knock down a big shot like that, it can get him rattled. And I think you saw him take that shot a little bit rattled right there. So I think just wanting to have experience on the floor, and having guys that he feels like aren't going to make mistakes. Now, experience can still make mistakes, right? We saw that with Braden and Gillis, where defensively they lose. I think it was Hyatt cutting to the rim. And you just saw somebody was supposed to go with him, and nobody did, right? So experience can make mistakes too, but it's going to happen at a higher level, obviously, when you have more inexperienced players out there. And this is not a game for Colvin, right? Because as much as Rutgers pressures the ball, right now you trust Jones and you trust Smith at an extremely high level as ball handlers in traffic. You trust Lawyer with a fair amount of confidence that he can handle the ball for a little bit of time, and not force turnovers, or not create turnovers. You're not trusting Edey in that spot for ball handling, and you're not trusting Colvin yet at that spot, and just not having been in that environment. We've seen Colvin make a couple of wild passes against the press and minutes that he's been in against it. So this isn't the game for them. Could we have used Colvin shooting from the outside today? We could have. But Rutgers throwing 3 different types of press coverage out there against Purdue, and already creating the amount of turnovers that they were. I just don't think that's the spot for Colvin to be injected into a game for extra minutes.
No, not at all. Like, this to me felt like it felt like you had to just ride Lawyer, and you just hope that something good happened. for me, the Colvin spot is if this was like reversed. If Purdue was the one that was down 8 and just couldn't get anything going, then you throw Colvin in. Like people are saying that, like, why don't you just throw Colvin in to see if he'll hit a jumper? He hasn't hit a jump. I know obviously he hasn't played as a ton of minutes. He hasn't hit a jumper on a true road game on the season. Like I think there's an assumption that he will make shots, and he is that good of a shooter that, yeah, he maybe deserves that respect. I don't think the ball, like, Lawyer's not like an insane ball handler, but I know that at some point he can get, I trust him more, like Kraig said, than Edey, than Colvin, to take a couple dribbles, get the ball across half court, let the offense set up. And that's part of just why I think Painter runs with him more too. The Edey thing, Heidi's the one that's a little bit concerning. I think you go back through his past few games and his started to fall off a little bit. Maybe hopefully it's just a little bit of a slump, and that's very, very possible. Has, in the past 4 games, 9 minutes against IU, 8 against Iowa, 13 against Michigan, 7 against Rutgers, 4 points in that span, 1 of 5 from 2 and 0 of 3 from 3. Hopefully he can kind of turn things around, because he had a very, very good stretch before, a stretch that I was like, hey, Edey is the 7th man on this team. That's kind of shifted back to Morton. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But, hopefully Edey can get back and get back to what he was, because like I said, I think he could very much be the 7th or 8th man. Morton is much better defensively at this moment, especially I think on ball. But Edey is that guy. Edey is the mix of, he can knock down a perimeter shot, he can get to the rim, and he can guard bigger people. Like he can guard bigger wings, which the starting lineup does lack, obviously with Lawyer being at the 3. But need him to turn around. Lawyer's just going to have, these are going to be a couple games like this. I think we've already hit on plenty of, Rutgers did a pretty good job just not giving him easy looks. And then the couple easy looks he did get, he missed. And that happens. But yeah, I don't want to talk about Colvin a lot more, because this just doesn't feel like the game to me at all. I hate that I know like I sound like a Colvin hater, and I understand that that's probably how I come across. It's not my intention. I think he's going to be an insanely good player. I just think right now, like, your hope, like if people's reasoning for putting him in was hopefully he hits a couple jumpers, and if that's your reasoning, then I just don't see it, because I don't trust him defensively more than Lawyer. I don't trust him handling the ball more than Lawyer right now. For me, a good Colvin, like a legitimate Colvin spot, is when it's like it's tied or you're down a few, and just Lawyer plus Edey just look absolutely lost. Now Colvin can come in, maybe provide a spark, and he's going to get his moments. He's going to get his moments. We still both believe that. I think this year he has something, but
I think
this game just wasn't it.
Yeah, David brings up a really good point too. With the amount of pressure that Rutgers puts on ball handlers, they were making entry passes fairly difficult. Now Purdue switched things up in the second half, and that became a lot easier. But nonetheless, they're going to pressure the ball pretty well, make it difficult to throw that entry pass in. And when essentially your offense for 15 minutes of that second half was get the ball to Zach, you want people that you trust to do that effectively without creating turnovers. So I think he wants experienced guys out there on the wing to feed that ball into Zach as well. So that's a really good point from David. And look, you're welcome to have your opinion. Like, yeah, Joe and I aren't on here saying like, no, you're wrong. Like, if you think this is a moment where Colvin needed to be thrown in to see if he could spark some offense and get some threes, like I can understand that to a degree. And if you ask me right now to bet on who the starting lineup is next year, I think Miles Colvin's in the starting lineup next year for what this team's going to need from an offensive standpoint, how we're going to look differently offensively than this year. I believe in Colvin a ton. I think he's going to be an all Big Ten player before he leaves Purdue. I think he's going to get drafted into the NBA. I just don't think that this particular game against a high pressure defense that creates a lot of turnovers when we already have 15 and we're facing a press is the right spot to put him in. If you disagree with me, if you disagree with Joe, that's fine. I think a lot of this conversation, I wish Braggs was here right now, because I think this is the backup NFL quarterback conversation of like everybody wants the backup when the quarterback's struggling, because they love what they haven't seen yet, right? He hasn't shown that he's worse in that situation. So you want the backup quarterback in. And 9 times out of 10, unless it was Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders, there was a reason the backup was the backup.
Yep. 100%. And like I said, Kraig hit it and I hit on it. It's like, we think Colvin's going to be very good. This didn't feel like the spot to us in a game where, especially like if he comes in, say he comes in and he misses a three and isn't playing great defense, that could be a quick, Purdue's up 5 to a tied game or something like that. All this is also happening in a Purdue win, in a Purdue 8-point road victory at Rutgers, a team I don't think they've won at the RAC since like 20. Somebody had it, and I thought we started.
2017-18.
Yeah, Purdue has not won at the RAC since 2017-18. 8-point win with all these players not playing well. Like, I know I know I'm naturally not optimistic, but like that's still a pretty good sign that like, hey, you had 6 out of 9 rotation players struggle for the most part, and they still won by 8 and trailed for 17 seconds or something like that this entire game.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive. I don't care what Rutgers is this year. I'm just happy we went to the RAC and got a win, man. And got that monkey off our back. There's been multiple demons that have been exercised this year, right? And exorcised. I've seen several people spell that exercise for some reason. But we kind of exercise the demons of the ball, right? And Purdue can't shoot with these different types of balls. Well, they've shot fine for the most part with those different types of balls. And Purdue can't win unless they shoot the ball well from 3. Well, we've won without shooting the ball well from 3. We've won in Indy where we've struggled at different times. We looked good in Indy. And this is another one of those that we had to mark off the list. We had to check off the box. We had to go to the RAC. We had to win. These seniors had never done it. So I love it. I don't care. I love it. I'm going to feel good about this win. I'm going to celebrate it as I watch the NFL games. I don't even know who's on because I don't pay attention to the NFL, but I'm going to start watching because we're down to the final 3 games. I had to ask Greg who was in the playoffs today.
There you go. Yep, football going on right now. I don't think – do you have anything else for this game? No?
I really don't. We won at the RAC.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple of we do have some Rutgers followers. We may have a couple of Rutgers people in here. If not, I know they follow us on Twitter. So we respect the hell. I know I do. I won't speak for Joe. I respect the hell out of Pikel, and I respect the hell out of your guys' basketball program and the way you guys play. Gave us a big fight today that we did not expect. So kudos to you.
Yep. I think that'll do it for us then. I don't have anything else. Purdue plays next Wednesday, home against Northwestern, 6:30 game. A game that obviously they've already lost to Northwestern this year. We will see. I feel pretty good about the game personally, but Northwestern, it's the Big Ten. Anything can happen. Being at home is going to help a lot too, though. Was that you have something to say on Northwestern, or was that just you were breathing?
Oh, I mean, just don't let Langborg and Barry get going.
There you go.
Yeah, no, let Boo Booey get 40 if he gets 40. Just don't let Langborg and Barry get going.
Yeah, so we'll be back Wednesday. Like I said, 6:30 Eastern Time tip on the Big Ten Network. Purdue will be home at Mackey against Northwestern. We'll be live after the show, all 3 of us at Mackey Arena. It sounds like we do appreciate everybody tuning in. A couple hundred people in here live during NFL playoffs. Please hit the like button on the way out. If you are not subscribed, hit that on the way out. And follow us on Twitter at Boilers in Stands, just for live in-game updates, some different tweets throughout the week and stuff like that. You can follow Kraig on Twitter at KraigBowers34, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoeJacksonCBB. We will be back Wednesday night, post Northwestern. Once again, appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, Boiler up.